Welcome into another edition of the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Sean and I as we talk about all different sorts of things when it comes to retirement and finance. And I know we've had some comments about baseball, but too bad we're doing it. So we're
It's
going to have
back.
it's back. So we're going to have a little conversation. Pretty cool, using baseball analytics, Sean, to talk
Yeah,
about planning for retirement. I mean, it's right up your alley, dude. So
100% up my alley.
yeah, man. So how you doing? You doing all right?
I'm sore. I went to that Red Sox camp I go play in, and
Right?
it's a long week of baseball at my age, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Back at it now.
Got you got whooped up a little bit, but fun.
Oh, it was a great time.
That's
It
good.
was a great
That's
time.
good. Good stuff, man. Well, all right. So I imagine when you were there, did you get a batting average? Did you, as you were practicing and doing your thing,
Oh,
do you want to, first of all, do you want to divulge what your batting average is? And then second of all, what's our retirement batting average?
yeah. I mean, I hit 500 for the week, and it's
Dude, that's killing it.
well, it's funny because like half the games are coach pitch, half the games are player pitch,
Okay.
and the games that were player pitch, I hit like 625. So I hit way better off of the players that were throwing a little bit harder, had a little bit more velo. And then I hit off the coaches who our coach was lefty and I'm left-handed. He's just dicing everybody up.
Nice.
But when we start to look at your retirement batting average, and I love the analytics side of baseball, not just on the hitting side, but um, when it comes to spin rates and all sorts of stuff, which
Oh
I
yeah,
guess
it's
that's
a
power.
sport that you can uber nerd out in. I'd imagine if you're a mathematician and a numbers guy and so on and so forth, baseball could be your thing, right? Because you can just get in the weeds with some stuff.
Just the analytics side, and they're like launch angles and this. But when we start to talk about like your batting average as it pertains to finance, that's things
Okay.
like your savings rates, like how
Okay.
much are you actually saving each and every month, each and every year.
Okay.
What does that look like? What are your investment returns? Right, like
Sure.
you want to track those numbers, and in a lot of the reviews that we're doing, we're doing, hey, what was your batting average, or a recap of the year prior, and what sort of success did you have? Now, when we
Right.
look at that, those success rates, it's how much did you pull out income wise? How much did you make in distributions? What was your
Hmm.
rate of return? What sort of a dividend rate did you have? And then what's your ending balance, right? So
Okay.
we want to see how you did. How successful were you out throughout the course of the year? And in baseball, if you hit 270, you're an okay player. If you hit 300,
Right.
you're
In the
you're a Hall of
pros.
Famer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the difference between like a couple of years in the bigs to a big 15-year career.
So if you wanted to kind of break that into retirement, like if you kind of build a batting average, if you will, for your finances, you want to be a 300 player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you want, because those types of players are successful over time. And then the last thing you want to look at are your expenses, right? So
Sure.
what's the dollars and everything we're talking about as it pertains to finances, success rate in retirement, right?
Right.
All a batting average is a success rate, and how many times I went up to bat, and how many times did I get a hit,
Hmm.
right? So 10 times up to bat, I got a hit 3 times. I had a 30% success rate, which in the grand scheme of life, that's not great. Baseball, you're a Hall of Famer.
Okay. All right. So if you're going up to, plan for retirement, then, there's all kinds of things. Obviously there's your income needs, there's your expense, there's how the portfolio is doing, there's insurances, there's social security, there's withdrawal rates, there's so on and so forth, right? We could kind of keep going. So you want to have a good plan you want to be above that 30%, obviously, in
Yeah.
that.
All the things that could cause you to not get a hit, right? Like my
Right.
expenses are out of whack. I'm not saving enough. My investments didn't get the level of income or the level of return that I needed.
Sure.
Right? Those are all things that could knock down your retirement batting average. And so when you're starting to look at success rates of retirement as it pertains to like batting average, like how controlled are my expenses? Is that something where I got a hit on? Did I do well? When it comes to savings rates, putting money in your 401k, IRAs,
Right.
Roths, whatever it may be, brokerage accounts.
Right. Right.
Do I have a sustainable rate that's going to get me to where I want to be? And then the investment returns, I look at that like, what's the philosophy there first and foremost? Am I trying to hit home runs like the market was last year?
Well, sure. The last 2 years, everybody wants to hit home runs.
Right. Or do I want to hit singles and doubles and be consistent and score my runs that way?
Singles and doubles over the last, 30 years of your building towards retirement to me seems like a smarter strategy than the occasional. Now, granted, I know we've been on this 12, 14-year bull run, but that doesn't typically happen. So consistency to me seems to make more sense.
A home run and a strikeout can change the game, right?
Right.
But a string of singles and doubles all tied together,
right,
that will win the game.
You keep advancing your runners.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of runners, so manage some retirement runs. I'll back up to a winning portfolio in a second, but sure. I want to talk about since we were just talking about runs. So let's manage those retirement runs. And so kind of take that concept and go a little bit further, right? So I guess that stability, right? People want stability in their retirement.
Well, they want consistency.
Right.
And so if you know that when you go into retirement, you say, listen, I need 80 grand a year, okay, and all my sources, my stable incomes bring me 50. Well, my math problem says that I need 30. So then if you have to come out and say, all right, well, if I need $30,000 from my investments each and every year, how do I create consistency in my plan? So we could go back to the home run hitter analogy. Hey, I'm going to change the game with one swing. And, if the market runs, bam, I hit a home run. My portfolio's done phenomenal. But what happens if you have a string where you get cold and you strike out 3 or 4 times in a row?
Yeah.
And it goes back to this sequence of returns risk that we
retiring in a down market, right?
Yeah. So what happens
the early days, I should say, I should clarify that, right? It's the early days. There's a lot of strategy out there people can take a look at. But if you go into retirement at the beginning of it, let's just say if you walked into retirement in 2006, right? And then the next 3 years were not so hot, that does serious damage versus just being a flat market.
Yeah. Or a consistent market.
Right.
Right. So you run that risk that the majority of home run hitters in baseball are high strikeout guys.
They're the strikeout kings usually.
But you look at the batting average guys. So I had a chance to when I was at a camp to talk to Bill Miller, who's if you know Red Sox history, Bill Miller is the 04 hero. He got the hit in Game 4 of the ALCS off Mariano Rivera to tie the game, and the previous year he was a AL batting champion. So phenomenal hitter.
Okay,
and he said, Sean, my whole focus is to give myself the opportunity to succeed by putting the ball in play.
Right.
Bill was never a big home run guy.
I was going to say now for me listening, now being a big baseball fan, not as big as you, but being a casual sports fan, that name didn't ring a bell. If you'd have said,
Tony
Big
Glenn.
Papi, if you'd have talked about the Sox, right? If you'd have talked about, Big Papi, I'd have been like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. So, because he's a home run hitter, right?
Yeah. Or, you look back in the 80s,
Ortiz.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn
was
right.
But not like one of the best hitters ever.
Yeah.
But he did not strike out. He just put the ball in play, found a way to do it. And that's really what retirement should look like, is more stability, singles, doubles, just getting on base, turning the lineup over to the next guy and just continuing to move the lineup through. And the more runs that you can score through singles and doubles, maybe the occasional home run.
Sure.
The more successful you're going to be.
Yeah, and that's really backtracking now. That's really building that winning portfolio, right? So if you're thinking about building a team, you and I were just chatting before we started on this. I'm out here in Carolina, and you're out where you're at there, and we just got, so the Avs, any Avalanche fans that are in your area that maybe aren't pulling for the new Utah hockey team out there, maybe pulling for the Colorado Avs, they're not so happy because we just took one of their best players in Mikko Rantanen. We're super excited out here, right? So we're trying to add pieces to build our winning team. Same kind of thing with retirement. You're trying to add pieces to get you across the finish line to, win a championship.
Well, and you'll forget, like, in good years, they're like, well, why didn't I do what the market did? Well, you're not structured to do what the market did.
You're not risking it all.
Right? Like, you're not trying to you're not trying to hit the home run right now with every single player on your team. What we're trying to do
Right.
is build a lineup, and this is a great time. You guys are making trades in hockey and in baseball. It's off season, so this is when a lot of cool stuff happens. Teams are trying to get the best bullpen they can, the best starting pitchers they can, the best defensive players they can, the best offensive players they can, and morph it all together between veterans and young guys. And that's really when we start to look at, asset allocation, not just diversification, but actual asset allocation.
What it's doing. Yeah. What's your job? What's the job of those particular investments?
Are we segmenting money to accomplish the goal that we have?
Yeah.
And, do we have an income goal? Do we have a growth goal? Do we have a dividend goal? Do we have an alternative goal? Using alternative investments, or do we have all these different asset classes all morphed together to build that winning portfolio to allow you to do the things that you want to do? Because at the end of the day, you want to win, right? Like, nobody wants to win the game in the 5th inning; they want to win the game in the 9th inning.
Right. Because as the as the World Series proved, you could be up and then go back down.
The game can be lost in the 5th inning.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking when you said that. Yeah. All right. So as we're kind of wrapping this up, right? So we can kind of be cheesy and say, the home run of financial freedom is what we're all looking for.
Right.
Don't yell at me in the comments below. I know that was cheesy.
We're gonna get it. It's okay.
But it's all right. But look, let's emphasize to the viewers, right? Just what really truly it is the importance of having a clear plan. Like, I've been talking with financial professionals like yourself, Sean, for years. You and I have been talking for years. I talk with other folks. And it's mind-blowing to me how much of a difference things can make if you have a clear plan, if you have a clear sense of direction.
Lineups are built for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You pick up your phone. I mean, you set your GPS for a reason.
Right.
Like, there's certain things that we do that make our lives way more efficient, way easier, way more comfortable. But we won't, in some cases, we won't take the time because, psychology, which we'll talk about at some point, but we won't take the time to build a clearly defined map to get us to where we want to be. I'll tell you this right now, the most successful coaches in any sport, they pre-game plan, they in-game plan, and they post-game plan.
Yeah.
And then they have variations of those plans inside of the plan. Yeah. So why aren't we doing it on the finances?
Think about vacations. I mean, we've all heard this a million times, and it's super true. You will spend more time planning for your vacation than you do for being old. And God willing, we're all going to be old. So why would you not?
Just get a little gray, get a lot of gray,
a little white. Yeah. But you've got to, I mean, if you're getting excited about your trip to Cancun and you're planning a lot for that, do the same thing for your retirement. Right.
Yeah. Because think about the freedom that brings.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of, right.
You plan for it. It's empowering. And we talk a little bit about, maybe looking at like the empowerment that retirement brings. Yeah, the financial side is one thing.
Sure.
But man, if I can match up my goals, beliefs, values, and desires with my financial side, that's pretty empowering situation to be in, because now you get to choose. What do I do with my time? What do I do with my resources? What do I do with my energy?
Yep.
Right.
Great point. That's a great way to close that out, because, as humans, as Americans, whatever, no matter where you live, that really doesn't even matter if you're American or not, right? It's like, but choice, freedom, empowerment, those are all things that I think all humans kind of like those terms, and in any aspect of things, right? So get yourself onto the calendar, have a strategy, get a plan put together, sit down with Sean and his team at Elevated Retirement Group. You can find all the links and the information in the show notes below. Subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that good jazz. We've had stuff popping up along the way. So if you got some questions, need some help, reach out to the team. Get started today at elevatemyretirement.com. Again, the links are in the show notes below. All right, we'll be back with another episode here pretty soon, and we won't talk about baseball in the next one, Sean, just so we don't get beat up too much.
Sounds good.
All right, my friend. Thanks for hanging out and breaking it down. We appreciate your time as always. We'll catch you on the next episode of Retirement Elevated. Sean Lee.
This video has been prepared for educational and marketing purposes only. The information in this video is general in nature, does not constitute personalized investment advice, and does not provide a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. All investments involve risk, and different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk. There can be no assurance that any specific investment strategy will be profitable or suitable to you. Additionally, although information presented in this video is believed to be factual and up to date, we do not guarantee its accuracy. You should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation and should consult a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies mentioned in this video. Investment advisory services are offered through Elevated Capital Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not constitute an endorsement of Elevated Capital Advisors LLC by securities regulators, nor does it indicate that the firm has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Insurance advice and products may be offered by a third-party insurance producer, which may be affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC and Elevated Capital Advisors LLC. Mark Killian and Third Wheel Media LLC receive compensation for their assistance in preparing and hosting this video.